How are you?
Exactly.
It is just
at the place Toke Beach for the Manowi Union Conference on Energy and Gender to deliberate on the theme Women's Economic Empowerment through Energy Access in the Manowi Union sub-regions. The conference is called to order. I would respectfully call on Haja Kabafofana. Haja Kabafofana, please, to do the Muslim prayers. And Mr. A. Garnett for Liberia to do the Christian prayers.
Allah Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim fi alamin innaka hamidun majid. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, toi qui es le tout miséricordieux par excellence, par essence et par excellence, toi qui as eu des paroles aussi les pays africains puissent produire en quantité de l'énergie de l'Ilaï Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim, ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin.
To the program.
We thank you, Lord, for the leadership of the Manu River Union. Lord, as we have gathered to deliberate on energy and gender, we pray for your understanding. We pray, oh God, and give us grace to reach the adoption of a meaningful adoption that will be in the interest of our people and our countries. We pray, oh God, that you send us wisdom and understanding. Battles are afresh with your wisdom, oh God, and show us your glory as we deliberate in the 3 days of this conference. In Jesus' unfailing name we have given thanks. Amen.
There is no other person but Mr. Jerry Taboro of the Manu River Union, Liberian National. Mr. Taboro, please.
Members of the diplomatic corps, ministers and delegates from the MRU countries, supporting partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I take this as an honor to say welcome before the official welcome to the Conference on Energy and Gender in the Manu River Union, with specific focus on women's economic empowerment through energy access in the MRU sub-region, held at the place, Tokyo Beach, Freetown, Sierra Leone, at about this time. As my task is to master the ceremony, I will now welcome to the podium Melinisen Laws to do for us the Manu River Union song.
Live from the office of the General Secretary. Come and join us. Guineans and Ivorians, Manu is for us. Come and join us. I'm calling on the president. We are calling on the citizens. Manu is for you and me. Come and join us. Manu is for you and me. Come and join us. Come and join us. Let's
splendid performance. We need another round of applause. Thank you very much, Madam. We now call on the podium, Paramount Chief, Madam Akeda Ina.
Ministers of MRU, Madam Secretary General of MRU, Honorable Members of Parliament, representatives of state institutions of the MRU, development partners, private sectors and partners, traditional and religious leaders, members of the media, my sisters from the MRU, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Our country is like our sister states in the MRU, hold our positive traditional and cultural values to the highest extent. Our culture says, when you have guests, the traditional leaders who are custodians of the land should welcome them. It is for this reason that I stand here today on behalf of the paramount chiefs and other traditional leaders to perform this honorable role. You have all traveled very far to be here to share this wonderful land and moment with us for the next 3 days. You are extremely honored to have you all here. Our development partners, our brothers, sisters, especially our sisters from the MRU. You are here to discuss this very important issue of women and energy, access as it relates to our empowerment. Our traditional leaders, and especially as female traditional paramount chief, I understand this issue very well because it is the reality of our women and girls in our rural communities. I'm not only pleased to be here to welcome you, but also to contribute greatly to the very important discussions that will be taking place. Please take some time to enjoy our natural beauty and our cultural hospitality. On behalf of our people, it gives me the greatest honor to traditionally welcome you all this MRU conference on gender and energy hosted by the government of Sierra Leone under the leadership of Dr. Ernest Baikroma. I wish you all a very good discussion over the next few days. I thank you, and may God bless all of us.
Thank you, Madam. Overview of conference. Nasuji Fofana, Presidential General Advisor in Sierra Leone.
Union, heads of departments and agencies, traditional leaders, development partners, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the Fourth Estate, the private sector, the civil society, our women from the Mano River Union, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are here today making history, and so we should. And therefore people want to know how we got here. And I have that honorable task and privilege to explain to you the background of this groundbreaking conference. It all started because, as a country, Sierra Leone, we are blessed to have a forward-thinking, attentive, and I can say with the strongest conviction, that he is the most gender-sensitive president this country has ever had. My boss, the president, Dr. Anas Bai Koroma. When it pleased His Excellency to appoint me as his gender advisor, and he told me two things during our first meeting. The empowerment of women and youth are my main priorities for my legacy. I want you, in addition to your other roles, including advising and supporting the ministries, departments, and agencies, especially the Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, to bring to my immediate attention issues that require my intervention in the area of promoting women and girls, because I want to be directly involved in this process. And so, I was sent off to work. My first two official trips, supported by UNIDO and ECRI, took me to 2 energy conferences in India and Ghana respectively. During the India meeting, the Prime Minister stated that 2.7 billion women globally have no access to energy. And women and girls in India spend approximately 60 billion hours in trying to access energy. This meeting was highly attended by dignitaries from all over the world. My next meeting was in Accra, Ghana, in the Minister of Energy's delegation, at the ECOWAS high-level conference in October. At this ECOWAS meeting, ministers adopted 2 major policies: the ECOWAS Renewable Energy Policy and the Energy Efficiency Policy. It is expected that by 2014, member states should have adopted their own gender-sensitive national policies on renewable energy to contribute to ECOWAS strategies on energy and gender. During these 2 very important meetings, I noticed something very strange. The absence of women, especially women in the rural areas, in these very high-level delegation meetings. But yet, we were sitting, discussing their lived experiences. So, in Ghana, before my boss, the Minister of Energy, could arrive, I could no longer keep quiet, as some of you would already know, and remembered what my boss had told me: bring issues concerning women and girls that requires my immediate intervention. I rolled into action and raised the questions: where are the women, especially the rural women we're discussing today? Of course, their absence was very clear. And so, in that very high-level meeting, on behalf of my country, we proposed that we have a meeting on women's access to energy, to be hosted, of course, naturally, by my country. The partners agreed. Our Minister of Energy was on his way to attend the ministerial segment, and so when he got there, the news got there before I could tell him. But again, as a country, we are blessed to have very gender-sensitive ministers. And our Minister of Energy gave me his immediate blessing to brief His Excellency on my return on this issue. So when I arrived, our then Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs was fully briefed before I briefed the President. Therefore, just a month before his re-election, I said to my boss, there is something that requires your immediate attention, Your Excellency. Women's access to energy is a global problem. Their perspectives require further exploration to inform energy policies, and the women need your support to make this happen in the sub-region. In consultation, therefore, with the Ministers of Energy and Gender, we would like to recommend that Your Excellency's government host this very important groundbreaking conference on women's access to energy with a specific focus on empowering women through access to energy. His Excellency immediately gave his blessings and approval to host this very important conference, where today we have rural women, we have women from all over the sub-region, we have our sisters from the ECOWAS, we have our sisters from Europe. They're here to support us today. So we would like to say thank you, Your Excellency, for granting the women this opportunity. Our partners, ECRI, UNIDO, and the African Development Bank, were immediately approached. And they were very pleased to honor our request to support our efforts. And collectively, they agreed that this all-important meeting should be hosted at Mano River Union level. And so, Madam SG was now fully in control of the proceedings that we have here today. The Mano River Union Secretariat has taken the leadership role in partnership with our development partners, ECRI, UNIDO, African Development Bank, the United Nations, AfriCell, to ensure that we hold this meeting here today. We are grateful as a government for your leadership, Madam Secretary General, for bringing the women together to hold this conference. So far, we have done it with support from the highest office in the land, our Ministers of Energy and Gender. So this is how we got here, and I trust that this gathering will make history. This is the first part of my assignment. This is how we got here. The second one is to, of course, introduce to you a very energetic, powerful, charismatic, lovely minister who will give you the platform to be you and to explore your capabilities and strengthen your resolve as long as you are working for the common good. This person is no other person but our able Minister of Energy, Mr. Robin Coker.
I'm Dr. Ernest Corona. I'm Secretary General of the Mano River Union, Haja Saran Darabakaba, colleague ministers of the Mano River Union, honorable members of Parliament, traditional leaders, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, partners in development, all other powerful women in the room recognized, and other guests are also recognized. Let me first of all express a hearty welcome to all and sundry for being here today. It is truly a landmark occasion in the annals of the history of the Mano River, and we as government of Sierra Leone and in particular the Ministry of Energy are very honored to have the opportunity to collaborate with a number of partners in hosting this 3-day session on women's economic empowerment through energy access in the MRU South region. Let me hasten to add thanks first and foremost, like the introducer did, to His Excellency the President. First and foremost, he has always demonstrated that he is a visionary leader who has the willingness to catalyze other people's success. And certainly the fact that he chose to appoint a gender advisor in the office of the President clearly manifested his support for gender empowerment. That he selected Madam Nasu Fofana, who has not only been a agile participant in the sector, but has introduced me so kindly and with so much flattery, it also speaks testimony to His Excellency's good selection. Let me also further thank our partners throughout this process. The MRU has been indispensable throughout this process. The Secretary General herself, the Deputy Secretary General, especially Madam Linda Kroma, who is very much one of us. And of course, UNIDO. UNIDO has been here with us. In fact, frankly, I think UNIDO came here with us before the government of Sierra Leone got there. What do I mean by that? I like the way Madam Nasu talks about what happened in Accra. Let me play it out slightly differently. Yes, I do fully take recognition for being willing to support the process. But when you walk into a West Africa-wide conference on sustainable energy for all, and the moment you get there, everybody is telling you about the wonderful contribution from the lady from Sierra Leone and how we're now going to have an energy conference in Sierra Leone for women, you can hardly say no. And when the Director General of UNIDO says, and I'm willing to support this initiative, you're definitely going to say yes. But I hasten to add that as a government, and as a mere extension of His Excellency's vision, being one of his assistants, I would say his assistant for energy matters, it was without reservation that we said, let's go ahead and do it. I also want to say a specific thank you to Nasu for carrying this through, not on her own, clearly with a lot of support from a lot of people, but it's very often you go to conferences, good ideas are discussed, and then they fall down at the next hurdle. NASU has seen to it that we have not allowed this initiative to fall at the first hurdle, and I thank her for that. We also have a number of entities who have supported and sponsored the African Development Bank, UNIDO, AfriCell, JEF, the Austrian Development Corporation, and I apologize for any other names which I have not mentioned, but we want to express our gratitude to all of you for being here with us today and for supporting this Manu River Union-wide initiative. Let me put in context some of the things that we believe are important over the next 3 days. A few years ago, I happened to be at a social enterprise conference in Sweden. And one of the observations that came out during the discourse, that in a particular country in a particular country in East Africa, I was going to say, okay, it's Uganda. In a particular community, it had been observed that the productive activity of women, when measured in man hours or woman hours, was almost twice that of the men. This may not be startling to many of the women in the house. It certainly was a bit of a revelation to me as a man, thinking that I'm working very hard all day, every day to keep things moving along. But I think with time I've grown to appreciate how much more women do to achieve perhaps a little less, because they're not sufficiently empowered with the tools that make sure that their productive activity delivers the commensurate level of productivity. And I think for us, one of the things we should be looking at as we go through the next 3 days is how energy access empowers women's productive activity and improves their productivity. As a ministry, we have established the goal of energy security for sustainable development by providing an enabling environment for the effective and efficient management of the country's indigenous energy resources. We have a strong focus in Sierra Leone on renewable energy resources, particularly biomass, solar, wind, and hydro. And we believe it is our ability in Sierra Leone and in the Manu River Union to harness these resources and improve access and efficiency that ultimately will deliver sustainable growth through women and their increased productivity. Therefore, as we navigate as a country through to the agenda for prosperity, the ministry's view is that our role is to power prosperity. And we also know that prosperity being a state of mind, you have to empower the women for all to feel prosperous. I can assure you, as a husband and a father, that if my wife and her children are not feeling prosperity, I will not be feeling prosperity. Therefore, we are encouraging member countries of the MRU and the sub-region of ECOWAS as a whole to really give full consideration to the implementation of green economy policies, particularly in how they select and make choices around how they're going to build the energy access and efficiency that will empower women and the economy. In this respect, we note the importance of ensuring that women are equipped with the necessary skills, including through education and capacity building, and are provided with the necessary social and health protections. We would therefore like to encourage all stakeholders, including business and industry, to contribute as appropriate. We invite governments of the member countries of MRU to improve knowledge and statistical capacities on job trends, development, and constraints, and integrate the relevant data into national statistics with the support of partners in development, including the MRU, the ECOWAS, ICRI, the UN agencies, etc., etc. Today, in our region, the predominant energy source and utilization is fuel wood and charcoal for cooking. These technologies are over 100 years old and are generally inefficient, with up to 90% of the energy being lost in the cooking process, and in fact 75% of the energy being lost in the production of charcoal, the process of producing charcoal. Therefore, we need to move away from such inefficient technologies and set up energy for cooking programs and for productivity. In short, we need to move up the ladder. And to do that, we need to build not just capacity, but innovative capacity. How do we innovate to meet the needs of the women within the context of the Nano River Union and Africa? What we do with our time and how we spend our day is not necessarily the same as those people who have to deal with winter at 6 o'clock in the morning. Therefore, we need to do the kinds of innovation with respect to energy that meets our needs. Imagine an environment where, with full access to electricity across most parts of the Nano River Union, women are now empowered to do things differently. Would we want blenders, or would we want electric mortars and pestles? Would we prefer to have swings for our children to put them to sleep, or would we prefer to still put them on our back and carry whatever other responsibilities we have to at the same time? Will we use power tools, for example, to drill holes in walls so that it's not just men who are involved in those activities, carpentry, masonry? Would we even have more women becoming tire fitters and mechanics? They now have power tools to remove the tires and change tires very quickly. This, at the fundamental level, is the enabling power of access to energy and efficient use of energy. And full and equal participation and leadership in all areas of energy access relating to sustainable development, and designed to accelerate the implementation of our respective commitments in this regard, as contained in the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, as well as the Agenda 21 Beijing Declaration and Platforms for Action on the Millennium Declaration. In Sierra Leone, we have started a little experiment in how we bring women into the energy mix more effectively. We sent a number of women, led by Nancy, seated to my left, to be trained and replicate what is known as the Barefoot Women's Solar College. This college has now been established locally, and these women are trained as solar engineers and technicians. Nancy, please stand, and I have the Barefoot Women please stand. Thank you. into different communities, having assembled solar lanterns and chargers and other equipment, climb to the tops of the houses and the roofs and install this equipment, and people's lives have changed. Their lives have changed, and the people who they're supporting or who they have been implementing solar systems' lives has changed. And it's not just for domestic purposes, they're utilizing it in public facilities, like the women's economic empowerment at the grassroots level. We now need to continue to build upon it and ensure that the next set of women engineers are not just limited to solar lighting, but are actually building nuclear plants. But that might be a short way away. We have UNIDO as a partner in many activities to do with empowering productivity, and they have growth centers. We need to learn together to see how we can make those growth centers, which primarily are populated by women, even more productive through energy access. That is why we watch very keenly the experiment that UNIDO has with a biogas power plant in Kitchum in the Cambria district. It makes perfect sense for us. When we look at the productivity of women, particularly in the agricultural sector, they're the ones who are involved in rice threshing. They're the ones who are involved in cassava peeling. They're the ones who are involved in the palm oil industry, all of which provide agricultural residue, which could form a feedstock for improved energy access. Imagine all their activities now can be automated, or at least dependent on power, and they have their own feedstock that they generate to keep the agenda moving forward. So we would want to see how the MRU could look more broadly at small-scale rural electrification, particularly in productive facilities. In Sierra Leone, we have growth centers and agricultural business centers, and see how women's productivity can be improved in these environments. At the end of this workshop, we would like to see a number of things. We want to see that women have a deeper understanding of the current trends of traditional energy production and consumption, locally, nationally, and on a global basis for achieving economic empowerment and global economic competitiveness. Women should be in a position to improve their knowledge of efficient use of energy. They should be able to learn to successfully accomplish their sustainable development projects with renewable and affordable and efficient energy. They should have hands-on experience on how to construct efficient cook stoves, build residential size or industrial size biogas and other biomass or biofuel systems, and work small or large scale solar photovoltaic systems. They should be in a position to receive expert advice and answer specific questions, but better still, after all this knowledge they've acquired, they should be in a better position to advise and educate other women, children, and perhaps even us men, who certainly could do with more education. What's the output we're all looking forward to? It's the action plan. It's the action plan that says this is not just a talking shop, that a journey which started in Accra and has now landed in Tuke Beach in the western area of Sierra Leone is now going to do to the next level with its dissemination across the MRU, establishing a best practice platform, an action plan that encourages local innovation that supports the productive activities in the context of the lives of the women in the Mano River Union and the African continent. On that note, let me say once again, thank you all for being here today. We look forward to 3 days of very promising deliberations and the action plan that comes thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Now we continue with statements of partners. And we call Madam Jatu Jallo, Executive Chairperson, Environmental Protection Agency, Sierra Leone.
Secretary General of the Mano River Union, Dr. Cabal, Ministers of States of the Mano River Union here present, parliamentarians of the Mano River Union here present, members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols observed. I am profoundly honored and deeply humbled to be given this opportunity to stand before you all in my capacity as the head of the Environmental Protection Agency and as a woman to deliver this statement on the occasion of the Manu River Union Conference on Women's Economic Empowerment through Energy Access. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the hosting of this ECOWAS High-Level Energy and Gender Conference in Sierra Leone is not unconnected to the significant progress made in gender empowerment in the country. In this light, I am delighted to take this opportunity on behalf of the board and staff of the Environmental Protection Agency to thank His Excellency, the President, and the First Lady for their unflinching support to gender empowerment issues in Sierra Leone. This was manifest in the recent declaration of a public holiday on International Women's Day as a means of upscaling the role women play in economic development, knowing fully well that women constitute 52% of the population of this country. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in Sierra Leone, as well as in the other Manu River Union countries, although there have been energy-related initiatives targeted towards women, most have involved cooking and other household issues. I must hasten to stress here that women also need energy for productive purposes to raise family incomes. Increased access to modern fuels, such as liquefied petroleum gas, LPGs, kerosene, and biofuels, can not only ease the time burdens and health problems associated with use of traditional fuels, but also enable women to initiate or expand small business enterprises. Mr. Chairman, in most of our rural areas, the places where women's opportunities are most limited, without access to grid-based electricity, decentralized rural electricity systems are very helpful in expanding available economic options. Decentralized power can be obtained from conventional energy sources, such as diesel generators, or from village or household systems using renewable energy sources, such as solar, wind, microhydro, and modernized biomass technologies. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, studies from other developing countries have shown that when electricity is used to support small home-based enterprises, the extra income earned can make the service affordable for households as well as business uses, thereby improving the family's quality of life and their prospects for climbing out of poverty. In some cases, women can earn income by becoming energy entrepreneurs themselves, producing and marketing cleaner burning stoves, renewable energy equipment, or alternative fuel products, such as biomass briquettes. Furthermore, although increased income alone will not eliminate pervasive social, cultural, and political discrimination against women, the self-reliance, expertise, and confidence women gain from managing business enterprises can help them gain greater control of their lives in many other ways. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear from the foregoing that actively engaging women is essential to eradicating poverty in the Manu River Union countries. But we're not just speaking about economic poverty. Women essentially is essential to eliminating poverty in access to essential services and in access to energy. Women can and must play an active role in the planning, producing, supplying, and managing of energy. There can be no energy for all that is sustainable unless we tap into the energy, engagement, and expertise of women. Whether we discuss who does the cooking at home, how to reduce the risk of violence or the risk of complications during pregnancy and childbirth, or how to transition to new sources of energy, women are at the forefront of energy use. Women must be at the starting point of our discussions, and most of the speakers here today have alluded to that fact. The government of Sierra Leone has been, over the years, encouraging schemes aimed at introducing clean cook stoves into our country and raising awareness about women's time and energy use and the health impacts for them and their families. We actively encourage and promote these schemes through our outreach environmental programs. Women are not beneficiaries or bystanders of development. Women are partners for development in the quest for sustainable energy for all. In conclusion, therefore, I must reiterate that the choice for women's empowerment is a choice for sustainability. It's a choice that will empower rather than increase conflicts with men folks. It's a choice that will lead to access to clean and access and needs, that will lead to access to clean and renewable energy technologies and services, which simultaneously target women's access and needs and can catalyze economic, social, and cultural processes, contributing to improving gender equality and women's empowerment and a safe and sound environment for the future. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I once more wish to thank the Mano River Union Secretariat and the organizers of the conference for inviting me to make a statement, and I thank you all for your kind attention.
Of Mr. Mahama Kapia, the Executive Director of ECRO. Mr. Kapia, an ardent advocate of gender inequity, would have wanted so much to be here personally, but due to very pressing matters that required his urgent attention, had to relieve to me the responsibility and honor of welcoming you. I'll go ahead and read his welcome address. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Her Excellency, the Secretary General of the Mano River Union, the Honorable Minister for Energy of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Honorable Ministers for Energy in the Mano River Union, Honorable Ministers for Gender in the Mano River Union, the Honorable Representative of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the Honorable Representative of the African Development Bank, the Honorable Representative of the Environmental Protection Agency, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and Heads of Diplomatic Missions, distinguished delegates of the Mano River Union, distinguished representatives of international organizations, distinguished representatives of non-governmental organizations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this high-level conference on women's empowerment through energy access in the Mano River Union and to the beautiful green country of Sierra Leone. I would like to congratulate the government of Sierra Leone and the Mano River Union as a whole for taking the initiative to organize a conference in West Africa dedicated to an issue that is increasingly gaining prominence as a front burner in the international discourse on global sustainable economic development. You will agree with me that the member states of the Mano River Union deserve to be highly commended for this bold step in the right direction.
ECRI is proud to have contributed to this effort and wishes to reaffirm to the people of the Manu River Union its continued support and availability to partner with the government and the people of the Manu River Union to bring about sustainable development in the sub-region. I would like to thank everyone who has contributed in one way or another to the organization and success of this conference. We are also grateful to all the participants who have gathered here today for this historic event. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, indeed, the need for women's economic empowerment is not a matter reserved for developing regions alone, but is an objective shared by all countries, both developed and developing. And it is one that will require a collective global effort if we are to succeed in addressing this challenge. For years, women have received the short end of the stick, not having access to equal opportunities as men for social and economic development. Critical factors such as the lack of access to finance, legal and regulatory barriers, and the lack of appropriate education and technical skills have served to hinder women's full participation as significant agents for economic development. However, despite these barriers, it is evident that when conditions appear to be slightly favorable, women stand out as true entrepreneurs. In the United States, for example, the World Bank figure shows that women-owned businesses are growing at twice the rate of other businesses, creating about 23 million jobs for the country and contributing about $3 trillion to the United States economy. In Africa, the number of women-led businesses is growing as well. The growth is occurring mostly in the informal sector, where women make up about 63%. These businesses provide women with the means to provide for themselves and their families, thereby contributing to solving one of Africa's greatest challenges, poverty. But it's too early to pat ourselves on the back. With the barriers still unaddressed, gainful and highly productive business opportunities remain largely inaccessible to women. Examples of such lucrative business opportunities exist in the green energy sector, a sector poised for significant growth potential. According to the International Energy Agency forecast, globally, clean energy will provide half electricity generation in the next 25 years, attracting an investment of up to $5.9 trillion. Already, the sector has created about 5 million jobs globally. Ladies and gentlemen, urgent and committed efforts have to be made today to change the status quo if we are to ensure that this era of green energy development does not become another lost economic opportunity for our women. At ECRI, we are determined that women gain from investments in the ECOWAS region's renewable energy and energy efficiency sector as much as their male counterparts. Through the ECOWAS initiative on gender mainstreaming in energy access, ECRI is working in collaborations with the ECOWAS member states and its partners to address the core barriers that hinder women from benefiting in the economic sense and otherwise from renewable energy and energy efficiency market development. Some of our activities in this regard include capacity development. In June 2012 in Dakar, Senegal, we conducted a training on gender and sustainable energy. We also organized a workshop and adopted the West African Clean Cooking Alliance Action Plan in Burkina Faso last month. And of course, this conference on women's economic empowerment through energy access in the Manu River Union sub-region. Secondly, in support of gender-sensitive clean energy policy development in the region, ECRI, with support from ENERGIA, ensured that the regional policy on renewable energy and energy efficiency was gender-sensitive. These renewable energy policies and efficiency policies were adopted by the ECOWAS Energy Ministers last year, October, in Accra, Ghana. The Center will now work with the ECOWAS member states to develop their national action plans for renewable energy, which will build on lessons learned in developing the regional policies to ensure that member states adopt action plans that meet sustainable gender requirements. Furthermore, through knowledge management and awareness creation activities,